Welcome back to Happiest Sober Podcast. I'm Madeline. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you're having such an amazing week so far. And let me tell you, I sure am, because I'm coming off of my in-person Happiest Sober Hub meetup in Chicago. That was this weekend. And it was so freaking incredible. It's really, really hard to find the words to explain it, but 19 of us from the Happiest Sober Hub all flew to Chicago, meeting up from from all over to spend the weekend together. And there's just something so freaking cool about it because we all know each other virtually, right? We meet on Zoom multiple times a week in the Happiest Sober Hub. And it's just one of those things where sobriety creates such this deep connection and bond that all of us in person together, it's just like we're such great friends and so close. And we just had so much freaking fun. That's the thing. And, people who came this weekend talked about just how amazing it felt to be in a group of people where we're all sober together. Like no one is the odd man out. Like I think when you're sober, you do often get used to being kind of the odd man out sometimes. If you're hanging out with drinkers, maybe you're out for dinner, everyone's ordering a drink but you, or you're in a social situation and you get offered a drink and you're having that moment of having to say no, thanks, I don't drink. And that was not anything that anybody had to think of this weekend. We were all there. We were all sober together, which that in itself is just such a cool bond to have to people. Like you're with a group of people who all have really different, we're coming from different places, different experiences, different stories, but it really is this thread that just kind of connects us all. And it's such a cool feeling. And that being said, though, we also had so much freaking fun. We laughed so much. We went to a Second City comedy show, laughed our freaking asses off. This is one of my favorite stories to tell about the weekend, but there was a point where it started raining and we were walking to get ice cream, and a few of us literally skipped through the rain to go get ice cream. It was an amazing weekend. I left it on such a high. And so that really is what is inspiring the topic of this episode today, which is the importance of connecting with sober people. So I kind of want to just share tips for you today. If you don't have a community or you don't have connections with sober people in your life, you deserve to find that. And there is no one right way to do it. There are so many different ways that you can do it, but it really is very important that you do, because it just adds so much to sobriety. I mean, first of all, it does add accountability. I think that so many people who try to get sober, it's really easy to underestimate how important it is to connect with a community. And I've heard from so many people who have joined the Happiest Sober Hub, they've kind of tried and tried again. And then when they finally go, okay, I think I really need to get connected with community, that ends up being the missing piece that can make it click into place. So I think it's something that's very easy to underestimate and to just kind of go I can do it on my own. But what I really love to say is that it's not about whether or not you can do it on your own. Maybe you can, right? But you don't have to do it on your own, because it can feel incredibly lonely and isolating to be getting sober without any support, because, it's something that sobriety is something that unless you've lived it, you just don't get it. You just don't. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe you have people in your life who drink who are incredibly supportive, and that's amazing. But unless they've lived it, they don't truly understand. And so even if you're around supportive people, it can sometimes feel a little bit lonely if nobody has that same shared experience with you, or you don't have people who you can say oh my gosh, this felt this way. And they're like, I get it. And so that's the value even of a virtual community or connecting online with people, is you have a space where you can say things that you've been through, things you're feeling, and you have a group of people who are like, oh my God, I get it. It's so validating. It's really healing. And it just makes you realize that you're not alone. So if you're trying and trying to get sober and it's just not working, or you have gotten sober but it just feels like hard and lonely and isolating, like don't underestimate the power of community, because you deserve that. Like you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do something. We all know sobriety, getting sober is a hard thing to do, and you don't have to do something so hard and make it harder on yourself by not giving yourself that gift of connection. And everyone freaking deserves it. So I wanted to share some tips today on different ways to find community, because of course there's no one right way and there's no one right community. So what I'll say first is, of course, you can find a virtual community. I joined a virtual community in my early days of sobriety, and it was Zoom meetings, and it was really helpful. I'm obviously highly biased, but the Happiest Sober Hub is an incredible community. And I don't say that because it's my community. I say that because the members in there are incredible. Like they are so welcoming, so supportive, so inspiring. Like I just love I'm so grateful for every single person in the Happiest Sober Hub, because they really are, it's a really special community, and that is all credit to my members, 100%. So if you're feeling like you're looking for a virtual community, you want to give the Happiest Sober Hub a try, you can head to happiestsober.com/hub. But again, different communities are going to work for different people, right? So don't be afraid to keep trying different communities until you find the one that's the right fit for you. I think it's kind of like with therapy. It's really easy to write therapy off if you like try a therapist and you're like, that didn't really feel right for me. So like, I don't think therapy is my thing. I don't think it works. If you try a sober community and it doesn't really resonate, doesn't mean community is not for you. It means maybe you're just not in the right one, right? So give a few a try until you find one that really feels like the right fit for you, because it really just makes a world of a difference. And I think also don't underestimate like the connection of meeting sober friends online, because I think it's easy to maybe feel like, well, it's just virtual, I wouldn't really get much out of it. And what I'll say is that virtual connections, like on a Zoom or whatever it is, that is really real connection. And if you hear someone share in a meeting and you really like resonate with what they said, then that's when you get to like reach out to them on the side and make a connection. And I've had people in the Happiest Sober Hub realize they live in the same place, and then like they meet up and they're like super close friends now and they meet up all the time. Or I've also had people become like good friends through the hub, and then like someone flew to go visit the other one and she like hosted her and they had such a fun weekend together. So real life in-person connections can absolutely come from it. And of course, if you do join the Happiest Sober Hub, we have that annual in-person meetup that was just in Chicago. So that's a really incredible way to get to obviously connect with people in person as well. But also, if you're really looking for in person connection, I know that AA is not everybody's thing. And let me just say, I think some people are really like strongly AA is the only way, and some people are more like don't love AA. And I'm very much like, I think AA is such an incredible program and community for the fact that it has helped so many people get sober. It's how my mom got sober. It's how my dad got sober. So I think that's amazing, but it doesn't resonate with everybody, right? So it didn't resonate personally with me. It wasn't how I got sober. I didn't go to AA, but I still think like, what an amazing thing that it's accessible, it's everywhere, and it's a way to meet sober people in real life in your area. So whether or not you feel like the term alcoholic resonates with you, whether or not you want to do kind of 12 steps, if you're on a sober journey, they always say literally the only qualification to be in AA, to be in an AA meeting, is the desire to quit drinking. So you could always go to an AA meeting, try it, maybe you'll love it, right? And even if it doesn't really quite resonate with you, that's when you're like, okay, but this is a way that now I'm in this room surrounded by other people who are getting sober as well. And I'll say the same thing I said about a virtual community. I know there's lots of different AA meetings you can try. I think there's also some like women only, right? So you could always just try a few in your area and see if you can meet a friend that way. That's a really great reliable way to be able to find sober people in your area. Something else I would say is to really be on the lookout for sober meetups and events, because the sober curious NA movement is really freaking growing. And so I think, like, if you see an either, like, it could be an NA bottle shop, it could be like there are sober bars popping up in places. You could try going to that. Or I think a really great resource is searching meetup.com, and go on to meetup.com, search sober and your area and see what comes up. Maybe there are some sober events. I'm in Toronto here, and I know that something that happens in Toronto is like a sober run happens. I don't know if it's weekly or bi-weekly, but there are different like activities and things that are sober focused. So definitely that's another great way to kind of be able to meet some sober people, some like-minded people, or at least people who are sober curious and trying to not drink so much and are interested with other people who are doing the same. Then that's a really great way to do it as well. Another thing that I would say, and this is something that I did, is that there is a really big sober community on social media. So there's the sober Instagram community. I'm not on TikTok, but I know that there is a pretty cool, from what I hear, sober movement on TikTok. So, and this is one that, like, I know immediately you might be like, I don't want to post about sobriety on social media. It might feel out of your comfort zone. But let me tell you, first of all, the sober Instagram movement helped me get sober. Like, it was 2020. I was in some heavy, heavy pandemic drinking, and I stumbled upon the sober community on Instagram, and it was the first time that I heard, I just mentioned that I grew up with parents who went to AA, so I had grown up with that kind of model of talking about drinking, alcoholism, all of that. And when I happened upon the sober Instagram community, it was the first time that I heard sobriety talked about in a different way, and in a way that really resonated with me, or in a way where I felt like, oh, I can finally identify myself here, right? Like, it was the first time that I heard about gray area drinking, or kind of the notion of you don't have to hit a rock bottom or consider yourself an alcoholic to get sober. Like, if alcohol is negatively impacting you or it's problematic, you get to quit before rock bottom, before your whole life's falling apart, right? What a concept. It sounds so obvious now for me to say it out loud, but that was like so groundbreaking for me to hear. It just opened up the door for me to feel like, wait a second, I can do this. I don't have to qualify myself as being bad enough, right? And I know that's something so many of us struggle with. So all that to say, the sober Instagram community was so huge in helping me even come to the decision to get sober. And so when I very first got sober, I was in my first month of sobriety. I started my sober Instagram account, and it was completely anonymous. Like, I just wanted a space where I could connect with other sober people. I wanted a space where I could like share my journey and talk really candidly and connect with people who were in the same boat with me, who I could relate to. And I was like, it would be really cool if one day I could inspire people the same way that so many people inspired me to feel like I could do this, right? So all that to say that sober Instagram, or just social media in general, is a great way to connect with like-minded people, and you can keep it anonymous. You don't have to be this public person. You don't have to put your face or even your name on it if you don't want to. Like, for me, keeping it anonymous gave me that feeling of safety, of I can go on there and really be honest. And even before I put my face on it, I made like friends on there. Like, I would see people who were in the Toronto area and message them and be like, hey, I'm from Toronto too, and then kind of start to connect and chat with them. And like, some real friendships that like still exist to this day came out of sober Instagram for me. So definitely, especially if you want to like be engaged in the sober online community. I know it can also feel kind of hard and weird if you're not open about your sobriety yet. It can feel weird to, on your personal Instagram account, where everyone who you know follows you, to like be following sober pages or liking or commenting on things, because that used to be in my head. I remember remember following sober accounts on my personal page before I got sober, and then unfollowing them because then I panicked and I was like, what if people see that I'm following these sober pages? And I wasn't ready to like fully commit to it yet. So I totally get that. So even if you don't want to post on social media, you could make an anonymous social media account just where you get to follow all of those accounts, and then some connections might come out of it. And I always say, whether it's on sober Instagram or in a meeting, if you see someone who you really resonate with, to not be afraid to reach out, because from my experience, sober people are the most like, would be so happy to chat with you, would be so happy to connect. They're just really, we all know what it's like to be that person who is in those early stages, and it's hard and it's scary, and we want support and we want connection. So I find that anyone you'd reach out to would be really, really receptive to that. So definitely, it can be anonymous. You don't have to post, but getting involved in kind of whether it's Instagram, TikTok, any other social media, and making a sober page and connecting with people there is a really amazing way to make some connections. On the flip side, if and when you're ready, kind of coming out as sober is really huge. And here's why. As we're talking about making sober connections, is because I've talked to a lot of people who have either like shared just in regular conversations, like just finally shared that they're sober, and we all know that's a scary part of it, right? The kind of like, okay, now I'm going to tell people. But whether it's that, or also, I've talked to a lot of people in the Happiest Sober Hub who have gotten to this place where they're like, okay, I think I'm ready to like do a post on social media and come out as sober, often kind of like to celebrate a sober milestone. It's kind of a little almost like announcement of like, hey everyone, I've gotten sober. And without fail, whenever somebody does that, they always receive messages from people who they had no idea were sober, where they're like, oh my God, I'm trying to quit drinking too, or I'm this many months sober too. Or also people who are struggling and are like, oh my God, that's amazing. And they're kind of wanting a bit of support because they're wanting to do the same, or they're trying to do the same. And so there's something to be said. And I know it can be really scary and uncomfortable to put yourself out there and share that, but there's something to be said that like there could be people in your life, or people who you used to know, who you've fallen out of touch with, who are sober and you just don't know it. And so to be the kind of brave, vulnerable one of putting yourself out there is opening the door for those connections to come in, right? Because if neither one of you is ever gonna say it, then you can both go on. Maybe you're both going on being like, oh, I'm sober and I don't have any sober connections, and you have no idea that this person who you see at work every day or whatever is also sober with you, right? So I would say, and I know this is something that you have to be ready for. It is totally a process of like, okay, I think I'm finally ready to share it. But if you get to that place and you're feeling the pull, I so encourage you to be the one to do it, because it really, I don't think I've heard of a time of someone sharing this and then not hearing from at least someone of like, oh my God, wait, I've gotten sober too. And then it's really cool because then also, here's the other thing is that you, by getting sober, when you share it, you become, for anyone in your life who might be a little further behind you on their journey, who eventually will get sober, you now become someone who they know that they can go to. And so, again, whether it's like you're posting and kind of announcing it on social media, even just by living your life sober, you really do like, I really think, and I see it all the time, it does create this ripple effect for people around you, because people, whether or not they speak it out loud, they are seeing, they are noticing. And our lives do change when we get sober. Our lives get better. We get better. We grow. We level up. Like oftentimes, we get sober and then so many other aspects of our lives change as well. And people see that, right? Even if maybe it's someone who you used to drink with and they seem unsupportive, like you never know who might knock on your door one day. And so, what I always like to say too is that you really never know who you're kind of inspiring around you, like quietly inspiring. And so to even know that just by living your life and being sober, you could be inspiring change in people around you, and then those will become possible like future sober connections. And that's a pretty cool thing as well. And that's also kind of a great reason to be open about it when you're ready to, because it does, especially if um you didn't hit a rock bottom, or if you did, of course, but if you are able to be honest and talk about it, because such a barrier for so many people is, oh, but if I quit I'll be labeled as having a problem, or I haven't hit a rock bottom, I don't need to quit. And just as when I saw people on Instagram talking about it in a different way, it felt like it gave me permission. Like by you just talking about your experience and sharing really honestly about it, there might be people around you who are like, wait a second, like I can identify with that. And I didn't think I qualified for sobriety, but they're doing it. Maybe I can do it too. Right. So it really is just a cool thing to see how one person getting sober can kind of shift things as well. And of course, we don't know for sure. There might be people around you who are never going to stop drinking. There probably will be many people around you who will never stop drinking, right? We don't have control over what other people do, and drinking is huge in our culture, but there might also be people who are struggling, and you are lighting the way for them. You are showing them another way that is possible. And that's a pretty freaking cool thing. Another thing that you can do also to make sober connections, and this one is not something that would be seeking out anything specific to sobriety, but if you like take up a hobby and start putting yourself out there in non-drinking environments. So it doesn't mean you have to go to a sober event or a mocktail night or a sober bar or whatever it is. But if you pursue a hobby, take a lesson, take a class, join a sports team, like anything you've always been interested in doing, that puts you around people who may or may not be sober. But what you can probably guess about people who are pursuing interests and hobbies is that they live a life that is about more than just drinking and getting drunk in a bar, right? Because like when I look back on my drinking days, I hated the question, what's your hobby or what do you like to do for fun? Because the real answer was get drunk on the weekend. And like that didn't feel great to say, but it was the honest to God truth, right? So if you are pursuing interests and trying new things, then that is putting you in the path of people who, whether or not they're sober people, they are people who don't just spend all their free time drinking, or who are just really interested in doing other things and in having that kind of fulfilling life. And so that's a cool way to get to meet them. And maybe they will be sober. You never know. It really is growing. And one other thing I'll say, kind of similar to that, is that, again, this isn't necessarily a way to pursue specifically sober connections, but something that, I've been talking a lot about. I did an episode about it a couple weeks ago with my mom, is about really practicing being present in my life. And one thing I've been still religiously doing is my no headphones walks, going for walks, not having headphones in, being present to things around me. And I was actually chatting about this with one of the members of the Happiest Sober Hub who was in Chicago this weekend, about how, and she's single too. So this is also kind of pertains to even like dating, like being open to meet dating connections, but whether it's friendships, dating, whatever, that she's just not wearing headphones. She's going to places and being present, not having headphones in, not having her phone, her face buried in her phone, like just being in an environment and being open to conversations, going to a dog park and actually being present for it. Like it just puts out this vibe that you are open to connecting with people. And I think that like we feel like that doesn't happen in our world anymore because people are so into their technology. But if you're the one to be present, then you're open for something, and then you're even open to connecting with other people around you. I mean, different age group, but I'll say it anyways. My mom was recently in a hospital waiting room. It was totally fine. My stepdad like hurt his shoulder. But she was in a hospital waiting room, and this woman was reading a book that she reads, or that from an author that she loved. And they ended up like sparking up conversation, had the best chat, got connected. My mom just went over to her house like last week to hang out, right? So just even being open to conversation and staying present in the moment so that you're available for those interactions to happen with people. And I do genuinely believe that when you are sober, you just attract more sober people to you. I really do think it's like this energetic thing and it's really cool. So I would even say if you do take up a hobby or you're kind of practicing being present to interact with people more, I'm willing to bet that by total happenstance or coincidence, except not, that you will end up crossing paths with people who are also on the same journey. I mean, at the Happiest Sober Hub Chicago meetup, we sat down for dinner the first night. Our waiter asked us what we were there for, and one of my members said, like, we're a sober group. He was 7 years sober. When I called to book our tickets for the Second City Comedy Show, she asked me my email to send it to, and she said, "Oh, I love your email. I'm 4 years sober." So, like, I just think that it totally is this sort of like energetic thing that when you are living your life sober and you're really open to those connections and wanting to connect with other sober people, like as long as you keep staying open and putting yourselves in positions to connect with people, that you will kind of attract in some really kind of like-minded people on your way. So those are my tips for making some sober connections, and it really is so important. And I don't mean that in a way of you have to connect otherwise you won't stay sober. It's not about whether you can, it's about how you want sobriety to feel. And we don't need to get sober and then suffer through feeling lonely and isolated and not understood. Like, you deserve to connect with people who make you feel so seen, so validated, so understood, so included, so like not the odd man out. And it really also just makes, I always say this, but it's so true, it makes sobriety so much happier, makes it the happiest, you could say. Like, it's just so much more joyful because it is not like, at least for sure in my community, it is not like doom and gloom sobriety. This is hard. Like, of course, everyone shares the hard times because that's a part of it. It's a part of life. Everyone is vulnerable and shares things that they're going through, and we support and relate with each other. But so much of it is sharing sober gratitude and sober wins and sober joys and laughing about like shared experiences that we've all had. And from my experience, connecting with sober people and surrounding yourself with sober people, it just makes sobriety so much happier. It makes it better. And sober people are, I will say it always, the best people. Someone who has gotten sober means they're someone who is willing to freaking face themselves. It means there's someone who is willing to find the courage to do the hard and scary thing, the courage to share this with people, the courage to freaking like go against the status quo. It means that there's someone who cares about their own growth. It means it's someone who wants to be the best version of themselves. It's someone who's incredibly honest with themselves. I just think that like I've never met a sober person who didn't really inspire me. And so to get to be surrounded by those people on the reg, I think is just, it makes us incredibly lucky. So that is my episode this week. I hope it was a helpful one. I hope it inspired you to put yourself out there and make some sober connections. And of course, I really, if you feel like this has been a missing piece for you, I would love to have you in my community, the Happiest Sober Hub. You can check it out at happiestsober.com/hub, HUB. The community opens for signups at the end of each month. And this is because I actually have, for your first month, if you join the community, in your first month in the community, you get access to newcomer meetings, which are meetings with just me and the other new members who have joined that month. So I know it can be sometimes a little like intimidating or feel nerve-wracking to join a community and join a meeting and connect with new people. So that kind of creates a bit of a like smaller, more intimate group for people to connect with just me and the other new members who are there. So that's why we just open up at the end of each month so that everyone can kind of join at the same time. But if you head to happiestsober.com/hub, you can join the wait list anytime. If doors aren't open when you head there, then you can join the wait list and you'll get an email as soon as doors open. So I would love to have you there if you're missing that community piece. You can also follow me on Instagram at Happiest Sober for daily sober content. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter for free sober tips and inspo right to your inbox. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe if this podcast has helped you. Thank you so much for listening. New episodes come out every Tuesday, so I'll chat with you next week. I hope you have an amazing week. Remember that life's happiest when you're sober. Bye.